everybody, we're back. We are back for today's topic, man. Every Wednesday, so Wednesdays and Thursdays, guys, it's just going to be a
Friday.
straight up conversation.
Fridays.
Yeah, thank you. See, exactly. We compliment each other. Wednesdays and Fridays are going to be straight up conversations. We're going to pick a topic that has to do with dating and relationships, and we're literally just going to talk about it. And Wednesday, you guys are going to get a shared video.
Mondays.
See exactly. Mondays.
Mondays you get a shared.
So
So Mondays you get a shared video. Wednesdays and Fridays we just have a conversation, right?
yeah,
Yes.
thank you. With that being said, guys, we're actually making a lot of changes because this season of season 2 is almost finished. We have 7 more videos left to go, and then we're jumping into season 3.
Woohoo!
Have more guests. We're actually going to be changing the frame of the podcast as well to a better one. Each season, you guys are going to get better, newer content. That's the goal.
The growth.
And then, as I said, man, before we start today, like, please, guys, like, share, and subscribe, man. Like, I have people telling me, hey, I want to listen to you on Spotify. Go listen to us on Spotify. Usually, when we wrap up the day, you can go down in the link below. We put all the social media stuff in there. And then if you want to see every single one of it, go check on Linktree. We have all of it there. iTunes, Spotify, whatever tickles your ear,
it's there.
We have it available for you.
It's there. We've made it available to everywhere, right?
Exactly. Everywhere and anything, man. So we try to make sure that it's available for everybody. And we're really looking forward to the new changes that are going to come. We're being more diligent. And I actually haven't had the chance to tell Anthea this, and I'm actually going to tell you guys this. I comment on a lot of YouTube videos that have to do with love and relationships, and I've actually been invited to a panel to talk about some of the stuff that we talk about here.
Brilliant.
A panel of, I think, 5 men and 5 women talking about certain discussions when it comes to dating and stuff like that. So it's going to be very, very interesting times for us. So with all that being said, let's get into today's topic. Actually, let's talk about it. Are all your relationships the same? It's a very interesting question because a lot of times we are, and people don't notice this, and I think they should pay attention to it. This is where self-awareness comes into play. This is where paying attention to your spirit is important. Are you dating different people but the same characteristics?
How many people have we heard over the years say, I've got the same person but in a different body? And you hear it all the time. And I'm going to give you a very straight answer to that, to believe it truly is. And it's you haven't healed.
I would agree with that.
Yeah. And also, there's an addiction going on. So if you haven't healed from the past relationships and you haven't come in a completely new version of your thought process and subconscious thought process, then you will just keep attracting the same and the same, because expectation level there to say, let's say they has spoken to you previously in a way that it doesn't work for you. It's not nice. Maybe they swear at you or they're quite disrespectful towards you, and you haven't healed from that, as an example. And then you go on to another relationship, and maybe you waited 2 years. You know what? I'm not even going to get into a relationship. I'm going to wait. I don't want the same person again. So you wait 2 years, and then you get into a relationship, and then you've got the same thing happen. That's because that level of that subconscious level is still attracting and drawing to yourself what has happened previously, because that hasn't been cleared from you. You haven't set new expectations for yourself. So subconsciously, you're still bringing in the old expectations, and you blame the other person. So it's their fault, but actually you're drawing from them what you're expecting from them. My take on it.
I'm gonna add some crazy caveats here. Hopefully, you guys don't mind if I do. I agree with everything Anthea said, but I'm gonna add a nice little sprinkle of it. Why are you entertaining the same behaviors? You see, like, let's say you've been in a relationship and it wasn't the best. You know, there was a lack of communication. You know, there was foul language, let's say, or emotional abuse, or anything of the sort. The next person you date, and you start to see the flags, or you start to see like tendencies, and you don't address them. That's what I'm saying. Now you're entertaining that behavior, and it's like, as Anthea said, why aren't you putting a stop to it? It's because you haven't healed.
Yeah,
And a lot
absolutely.
of times we're thinking that we could change somebody to fit our narrative. That's the thing. So let's say you've
Doesn't work.
come out of a bad relationship and you meet somebody, and let's say you've dated a cheater in the past, and then you're dating this new person, and you see that they have cheating tendencies, right? We all know what they are, and we'll maybe cover a podcast on it. They have cheating tendencies, and then you never address those cheating tendencies. You say, well, you know, he likes me or she likes me, it's totally okay, and you say nothing. You've now set yourself up for the failure by not speaking up.
Absolutely. And I totally agree with that, Michael. I totally agree with that, because if you don't address it, then it just continues. It just continues. Now, if you address it and it continues regardless, because doesn't mean just because you addressed it and the person agrees that it's going to continue, that they're going to do, that they're going to, I don't know, not change their characteristics, but recognizing themselves. And actually, if they really want to, they really are into you, they're really drawn to you, and they really do have a connection, you guys have a connection together, they will look at that and they will see what they can do to make a difference to the relationship. So they will show up
Agreed.
differently now. And if they're not showing up in a different way, then they don't care. They don't care what you're saying, and it's just going to continue that way.
I would
And
agree with that, but you can't, like, in a lot of senses, and I'm sorry to cut you off, in a lot of senses, we'll always blame and say, oh, it's all the person's fault. Every relationship,
absolutely
you're blaming them instead of saying, you know what? Maybe there's some things that I'm doing.
right. But this is life in general. How many people play the blame game? And if something's
It's
happened,
victim. It's
it's
playing
victim
victim.
mentality. It's a massive victimhood mentality. And so, okay, look, we're all going to go through that victimhood mentality throughout certain stages in our life. We're all going to feel that way with certain things. However, it doesn't mean you have to stay there. You always have to come back to self, and always have to recognize what's happening in you, and what is it about me that's creating this around me, because no one creates your life for you. You do it. It's like this. It's amazing how many people shy away and hide away from the fact that they are in control of their own thoughts, their own emotions, and how intentions are in life, because so many people don't have intentions. They just go around life and do what they do, and they live the same thing over and over again. And that's not just in a relationship, it's with everything and anything you can think of in life. And I think it's time people start taking responsibility for themselves
A
and saying,
responsibility and accountability.
and accountability, absolutely, and stop that blame game. Always it's about someone, oh, he done this or she done this or whatever it is. And it's like, actually, no. Yes, they could have done that. That is, I'm not going to deny that if somebody went and threw something across the room, you can't say, oh, they didn't do that. No, it's not about that, because they did do that, yes. However, why, like Michael rightfully said earlier on, why are you staying within that if that's the kind of behavior that's taking place? Or if someone's going out to a club every single weekend, or someone's cheating, or whatever the scenario could be, it's your choice to be around. And that's the thing, it's a place that you choose to do. You choose to be there, and you choose to entertain that. However, in the same breath, you want to say, yeah, but they done this and they done that. Well, you're choosing to stick around that
Well,
scenario. So
I'm going to take it even further. You chose them. So if you keep
yes,
choosing the same partners over and over again, and then you're wondering, well, why are my relationships failing? sweetheart or dude, you're choosing these people. So you know what? Again, I'm not pausing the show, but we have a very, very interesting statement here. And again, we're actually going to start reading statements. So if you guys put it in the chat, we're actually going to start reading them. So hopefully, Matthew, you don't mind. Loving someone is not about easy stuff. It's about carrying them when there is no strength, when strength is no longer there. Smiling and being positive in the face of whatever the next corner shows. Crying alone to appear strong. Finding a way, sacrifice, and doing it gladly and making sure they're okay. It's not just called love, it's called true love. Okay, let's talk about that for a minute. Yes, relationships are not all sunshine and roses.
No,
They're
they're not.
not. And a lot of people have to extract, and thank you again, Matthew, for posting this, have to extract that Disney fairy tale BS that we're told that relationships are supposed to be smooth sailing. Now, this is why it's so important. And I had an amazing conversation with somebody about this yesterday. You made a very strong point in there, Matthew, about finding a way and sacrificing it. We live in a day and age where most people are just used to just quitting in a relationship, anything. But if we're talking about the relationship dynamic, most people are used to just quitting. When shit gets hard, and again, I don't like to swear usually, they'll just leave and date someone else. And then
It's
when
the
it gets
same
hard with
person.
them, they'll date someone else. And then what happens is they're dating, which is a term I actually don't like to use anymore. When you are looking for a partner, you should be looking for purpose. You should be looking, there should be an end goal. When you're saying, I'm dating somebody, what you're saying is, well, I just want to see what's out there, and you want to test and try different people's hearts and then kind of hope to get it right.
Absolutely. And can I just
Um,
also say, before you continue there,
okay.
this is where the vetting process comes in. So you can
Yeah.
refer back to one of our previous podcasts where we do speak about vetting and the importance of vetting your partner. Well, somebody before you get into that relationship, before you say yes to being in that relationship, because I think this will help people in the long term, like exactly what Matthew's saying here. Like we're speaking, I think where you're speaking from here, Matthew, is a point of view of being in a relationship that you're quite happy in, and you're gonna have the ups and downs, the roads and the bumps in the road, and that is life in general. We can't expect, if our life is going to be like that, what happens when you add another person to it? It's going to happen, because that's just called life, right? So when you're in that stage and you've been in a long-term relationship and things are good and you've vetted that person and you have the same intentions in life, you want and you support one another, then it's not about leaving. It is about supporting one another, no matter whether it's something, whatever happens. But I think we're also saying that if you're meeting somebody and your seats as the last person but in a different body, then you've got to understand, who are you choosing? Are you going into that too quickly? Are you just meeting people like,
And why are you choosing them?
yeah, and why are you choosing them? Like, you're going to know from the beginning by the first things they start speaking about. It's going to give you an indication of what they're about. It really is. You've really got to listen. And I think this is where there's a bloom in so many relationships where people don't listen. They just they hear it, but they don't actually listen to what's being said, and they go, yeah, and they want to say what they want to say, but they're not listening to what that person's saying to them. So the problem isn't solved. It's always just covered. So was coming from the view.
Okay. We're going to address that too.
Okay.
See, I want to touch on the end part, finding a way and sacrifice. You see, it's very interesting because, again, in a lot of relationships, people don't want to sacrifice. It's give me, give me, give me.
Yes.
And then I will give you when I feel like it, or I'll give you a little bit. So I will touch on that. And you were coming from the point of sickness and health. Yes, like that's how it should be, Matthew. and looks do fade. Like, people get old, things happen. It should be that way in sickness and health, but let's look at the dating market. Let's be honest. The divorce rate is through the roof. People serial date like crazy. Nobody is sticking it out anymore. I'm not saying that it's not impossible to find, but I'm saying let's look at it from a realistic lens, that no one's sticking it out. They get bored, things don't work out, they don't address problems. They just say, well, I can find someone else where I can just go find, go over there and see if the grass is greener.
And so Kerry said people use people now, and they do. It's like, it's this selfish, very selfish point of view of what happens in the dating world, right? And yes, it is about what works for you. I agree with that, because if it doesn't work for you, then how are you going to...
I'm going to correct that statement. It's what works for both of you.
Yes, absolutely. But initially, if when you meet somebody, if they've got nothing about them that works for you, then you're not going to move forward, right?
Oh, yeah, 100%. Yeah.
So the initial part of it, but then again, that's where I think exactly what you were saying, where we have to take that time and understand, who are we choosing? What is it about them? Why did you choose them in the first place? Okay, and so many people are confused with this attraction factor. Just because you're attracted, it doesn't mean they have the traits and you have the traits that's going to work within that relationship for one another. And that's, I think we'll refer back to the love versus lust podcast also, because that speaks deeply about the difference between the lust and love. Because I think so many go with the look of somebody and they like what they see, but they don't know nothing about the inside of them. Take the time out. There's no sustenance in it. There's no deepness. It's just, I like what I see. And this is where we're going to speak about, when is too soon. When's the time to have bedroom fun? Because so many people will have that attraction factor from the off go, and then bam, they're running home having bedroom fun, and they don't know nothing about one another.
Guys, I don't want to pause the show, but we have 4 viewers in here, which is awesome. Thank you for joining us. On our Wednesdays and Friday shows, we're going to have the topic, but we're actually going to read your comments and tweets as well. And we're going to address them in the podcast. So if you guys want, put a 1 in the chat. If you want us to discuss your comments and chats during our live stream, put a 1 in the chat, and we'll do that. We'll include that on Wednesdays and Fridays. So we're going to read off some of them now. If you don't want to give more than you take, then you're not the right person. 6 years with a sick partner, and it's amazing because she is a previous bad marriage about where it's went now. See, I agree with that. You see, he made a very good point. A lot of times relationships are just about, what can I take? And let's talk about relationships. Relationships are, what can you give?
Yes.
It's not about what you can take. It's about what you can give.
What can you show up with?
Giving vessel.
Yes.
That's what a relationship is. It's a giving vessel. So it's, what can you give? Because a lot of times people are like, well, I'm only willing to give if
they give me
XYZ. Yeah. And it's like, that's not a relationship. Now that's that's something else, next world. But a real relationship is about giving consistently and consecutively, and watching it grow when things get hard. Because even myself, I like to say this one thing: I don't want to see you at your best. I'd love to see you at your worst, because I want to see, how can you handle things when things go left.
Yes, absolutely.
How can you handle things when they go left? Do you bail? Do you get angry? Do you throw things? I want to see how you handle things when they go left. Now,
and Melissa said a healthy relationship is about mutual respect, mutual compassion, mutual trust and affection. That true partnership. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Melissa. Thank you for joining us, my darling. And yes, you are so on point. It is about, it's about mutual respect. It's about everything you just stated there, the compassion. And it's not, it is like if both parties, what can I give to one another? What can I bring to the table? How can I make this the best? And you're looking at it in that perspective of life, then you're going to have a better chance of making things work and having a better relationship. But if you're turning up and you're thinking, what can I take? What can this person give to me? What can I get from them? Then you're kind of you're completely starting off on the wrong foot, because it's all about what you want and not about what you can give to. Like, and you know what, we've had this discussion before, Michael, where we've said, where we've spoken about what we're giving. I've just lost my trail of thought there.
See, I love what she said though. It will be what you attract. Yes. But we also have to look at it from this deciding factor. And I want us to look on the outside. People, you're going to get all types of people attracted to you, right? You're going to get all types. You can't control that narrative of what comes to you, but you can control what you entertain, though.
Yes, and that's what we were
the
saying.
difference. That is the biggest, because a lot of people will say, what you attract. You can't control who finds you attractive, who likes you, who doesn't like you. That's external forces. But you can control who you entertain, who you decide to entertain longer than you should. Are you entertaining somebody you shouldn't be entertaining?
And I think we're going a bit deeper than that, where Melissa was saying it's the belief you hold to the and it is. It's like I said earlier, it's that subconsciousness. It's a belief system, and if your beliefs are that you're always attracting the wrong person, or there's no good people out there, there's no good people left in the world, or they're two beliefs that people hold, and I've heard it so many times. All the good ones are taken. Well, if that's a belief that you have, then you're going to attract the people that are not that are in alignment with that are not good, because you're saying what you're actually speaking out, or what your subconscious is holding in a belief system. And we live in a belief-driven universe at the end of the day.
We do.
Everything works with our subconscious and our beliefs. So what you're attracting there is your belief. So you have to look at and understand, what are you saying to yourself? What's the story you're telling about a relationship to who's showing up in your life? And like Michael rightfully said, when they do show up, if they are not congruent to who you are and alignment with what you want, and you're just seeing a pretty beautiful cake on the outside with lots of chocolate and sprinkles and cream, and you're like, oh, this looks so delicious, want to eat it, and that's, you're just going heading to eat, and you're not taking time out to find out what the ingredients are in that, then you're setting yourself up again for something that could go completely the wrong way, and you're not understanding what you are believing in, what your belief system is. So listen to the story you tell about relationships. Take time out for yourself. Understand yourself. Know thyself, as they say. Get to know you. So when you do show up, you can show up with compassion. You can show up with respect. And if you're respecting yourself and you're compassionate towards yourself and you're loving yourself and you're doing all the right factors for you, then you're going to bring in and you're going to attract somebody the same. And if you don't, then you need to understand, what is it in me again? And when you do show up and you do attract the right person, and that person has been brought to you and you've come together, then respect one another, man.
See, I'm gonna give you guys some story time with Mike, because you see, this is where I had to take accountability in my life. I dated a lot of women that didn't respect me. But I don't blame them anymore. I used to blame them. Now I say I allowed it. Because I'm telling you, I used to be in the mindset of, oh, like, this girl did this to me and she did this. No accountability. So I couldn't handle. You can't handle the truth. I couldn't handle it.
Yes.
I couldn't handle it, because I had to look at myself and say, it's me. Because I wasn't standing up for myself. I wasn't asserting myself. I was afraid to lose them. So I was like, it's better that I say nothing, keep them, but then still be disrespected long term. So that's why I'm saying that you really have to look at yourself and say, okay, what am I entertaining? What am I not entertaining? And you have to stand strong in your principles, because a lot of times, and again, I don't like this, but it's just facts. People will bend principles and habits they have for another person compared to their past person. And I've noticed that a lot. So let's say you have a principle, for a new person you might break it. For an old person you might be like, no. So it's really being able to enforce standards
Yeah.
and
And know your
boundaries.
standards and know what you want, and have that knowing in yourself. What is it you're looking, not on the outside? What is it you want deep in? Like what
Sustenance, yeah, because it's like,
yes.
for example, we have to ask yourself, why do you drink water? You don't drink water just because. You drink water because it brings you sustenance, right?
Yes.
You drink it because you need it. Our bodies are made out of water. You need to quench your thirst. That is sustenance. So it's like, even in a relationship, you need that sustenance. So that's what's very, very amazing about that. And, Matthew said a very interesting point. Love the accountability and the responsibility line. And that's what it is. It's being held to a standard. And we're going to talk about it, damn it. You know what I mean? Like, we're going to do an investigation today.
um I love that.
Um,
I just want to see what Matthew said here. It said confidence attracts people, your soul, heart, attitude, generosity, charity, respect, etc., makes the chance of love more possible. Yeah, I completely agree with that, Matthew. And again, they're the substance of things. They're the deeper side of things. They're not on somebody on the outside. And I think that's where we need to sit down and really understand, what can we bring? And if we have that respect and your soul, your heart, your attitude, your generosity to charity, and the respect that you naturally have for yourself and for others, then you will have that come to you. And I think Melissa said something earlier on here that I just wanted to read, where she said, there is a partner out there that is perfect match for you. Wait for them. And I agree with that too. I had this little Anthea story, yeah.
Hang on. If it's an Anthea story, go ahead. Go ahead and tell your Anthea story.
I had a recent experience where I was not looking at the red flags of what was going on. I was completely blanking it, because I gave myself my own story to be able to, what's the word, to say to myself, it's okay what I was seeing.
Well, you tried to justify it.
I tried to, thank you very much, Michael. I tried to justify things. And then I realized, wow, I really healed from other relationships because I've just entertained something that I know isn't going to work for me. And it wasn't just because of me. It wouldn't work for either of us, because in time, I thought I was bringing the best to the table, and I don't know what he thought, but I thought I was. But then what I was seeing around me wasn't in alignment with what I'd asked for and what I wanted. And I entertained that. And that's my responsibility. I had to take accountability for that. And I had to understand in myself, what is this about? I had to question me, not question the other person. Yes, I questioned the behavior of the other, but then I still had to come back to myself, because I went through a phase of asking, well, why track this to myself? I thought I had completely healed. I didn't realize that there were still other things around, but again, it was an attraction factor. It was a story I had told myself. There was so much behind it that I had to stop and take that accountability. And once I fully took that accountability for me and took responsibility for what I was doing, then I could move forward and I could move on with peace, with absolutely peace in my heart, right?
And I love that you said that. And, we're going to touch on two strong points here. We're going to do some whipping because, and I'm going to say this, people don't like being held accountable. Because when somebody holds you to a standard, now you're like, I actually have to, do work. I can't sit here and just kind of be a bump on the log. Like, this person is going to hold me accountable to some degree. And then when, let's say, you operate and like do some bad behaviors, they're going to call me out on it. And to touch on Anthea's story a little bit there, a lot of times we tell ourselves stories. We're great storytellers.
Yeah.
And there's stories that hurt us more than anything.
It's like lying to yourself in a sense, right? It's like
we want to believe in it so much.
Yes.
That we create an illusion.
Yes.
For it to fit our narrative. And that's the thing. I always say you have to be reality based. You cannot be emotional based. You have to be reality based. When you live in reality, things are a lot easier for you. And I actually wanted to say one more thing as well on Anthea's story. You can only control what you do. You cannot control how someone else operates. All you can do is provide the information and wisdom. What they do or don't do with it is not your problem once you've provided it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's it. Because you cannot control them.
And you cannot change them. You cannot, you can have the best vision for somebody and you can see the greatness of what could come through someone. However, if only you are seeing it and they're not participating within that and they don't know that, then they can't become that. And then you can't be that person that says, I can make a difference to them or I can change them. You just can't. Everyone is responsible for themselves. It doesn't work.
It just makes me laugh because you have people out here trying to do this to people, trying to change them like some type of transformer. You know what I mean? It's like, no, like you need to understand that in a relationship, you are only held accountable for what you do.
Yeah.
You cannot be held accountable for what someone else does or doesn't do. All you can do is help them get there. That's it. Provided the information you provide. So let's say, for example, somebody disrespects you in a relationship or they said something that you did not like. All you can do is provide the information to say, hey, what you said, I didn't agree with it. Or like, can you please not do that again? You know, that's a boundary for me. Don't do it again. You've provided the information. What they do with it is up to them.
Absolutely.
They can say, oh, you know what? I don't want to do that way again. I understand that that's a boundary for my partner. I won't behave that way. Or they can keep behaving irrationally. It's totally up to them. But it's also understanding, this is where they also need understanding that any lack of action or action is going to result in a consequence, good or bad. So let's say they take your information and they use it, the relationship becomes better. They don't use your information, there's consequences for that. You're either going to leave the relationship, because you shouldn't have to tell somebody multiple times. They are not a child. I'm not calling them a child. I'm saying they're having childlike tendencies. I shouldn't have to tell you multiple times not to do something or that something is a boundary for me.
And if there's respect,
if you care about me,
and you
you should
respect
be
one another.
aware.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a no.
Yes, 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 yes. And if you continue to see someone's behavior as being in the same way it does, and you've spoken to them, and you've spoken to them, and you've sat down and you've had heart to hearts, and they're still doing the same thing, then you can't change that. And it's an acceptance that that's who they are. And every time I hear this and I say it, it just aligns with me more. When someone shows you who they are,
Accept
believe
it.
them.
Yeah, believe it, accept it.
Believe it. They're showing you. Because there's another thing that I've experienced where the words are one way and the actions do not align with the words.
The
Now,
words have no sustenance if there's not strong action behind it.
thank you. So that was a realization that I had to come to understand and realize that, hang on a sec, I'm hearing, previously I've heard these words and they sound so lovely and they're so brilliant and they're so cool and it's what you want to hear. And then you watch the actions are so misaligned. And that's where and if you speak to that person and you're saying, well, look, your actions and your words are not aligning. I'm seeing completely different to what you're saying. And they go, and then they fix up a sense of, no, they want this to work. So they start to actually look at their actions and realize that their actions are misaligned with what they're saying to you. And they come into alignment with that. That's because they do love and respect you. They do have that compassion. They do want to make it work. So they're going to do these things to help the relationship grow. Now, when you're being honest and open with people and you're sitting down and you're having those honest and open conversations will make a difference, because if you're in respect with one another, and it will grow to become something great. But when you're seeing the opposite happen and you're sitting down and having conversations and they seem like heart to hearts, however, they're going out after and the actions are still not aligning, there's a problem, man. And you have to look at those problems. And this is where we're saying before, how many people just run, right? They run away from things. But it's because so many people are not willing to put the work in. So it does break down, but you can't do it by yourself. The other person has to be on board with you, man. It's not a one-man thing. It's a two-way thing, right?
I agree with that. Is there anything else you wanted to add?
No, I think.
Sorry.
It's got a bit.
No, I actually wanted to say something very important. And honestly, I hope you guys can take this to the bank when I say this. It's shiny box syndrome. So what it is, it's like, let's say I have a glass of orange juice and I hype that up and you're like, oh my God, that orange juice looks so amazing. It's colorful. The box is great. Everything's amazing. Can I have a sip? And I still keep going on about how amazing the orange juice is and how amazing and all this thing. And you're still like, can I have a sip? And I still keep going on this tangent of how great it is. And you never get to try the orange juice. Now, how does that tie into that? Is the action of drinking the orange juice shows, he was actually right. The orange juice is amazing. But that's the thing. If I just keep telling you how awesome it is and you never get to try it, that's exactly the alternative or the flip or the switch of somebody telling you, hey, I'm going to change or this is going to stop. But they still keep hyping it up instead of just changing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing. No one's asking you to change for your partner. Let's keep that 100%. Let's talk about that. Relationships, and I'm only going to say this once, are about sacrifice and compromise. Not too far left, not too far right. Not your core principles, but certain things. Relationships are about compromise. You don't get to get into a relationship, and we've covered this on the podcast, and say, well, I get to do what I want to do, and you still get to be in a relationship with me. No. There's certain behaviors and certain habits that you're going to have to display for you to stay in a relationship.
Absolutely.
So that's why that's so important, because relationships are about give and take. So let's say I'm a single man, I meet a girl, we start dating. Those single habits, I don't get to do them anymore. I don't club or anything, but let's say I go clubbing on the weekend, guys night out every weekend. No. There's certain habits that have to stop for me to have that relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing on the women's side. That's what a lot of
Absolutely.
people don't understand. It's like they want their cake and to eat it too, when
Mm-hmm.
it's like it doesn't work that way.
Mm-mm.
You
And
know,
sorry.
Matthew made a good point about despite being together, you are individuals. Yes, and I'm gonna give you a great caveat here. One of my good friends, he's happily married, 6 kids, same woman, they're married, right? But you see, he understands dynamics because what happens is his family needs his attention. There's certain habits that he cannot display because it will ruin his family. It's the same thing in a relationship. There's
Yes,
certain habits and principles that will ruin your relationship. If you're used to
absolutely.
being dysfunctional single, go be dysfunctional single. But you cannot be dysfunctional in a relationship. It will end.
No, and because
You
then,
want to
yeah,
be rude and
absolutely.
disrespectful being single? That's fine. Be rude and disrespectful being single. But
But
you
don't drag
cannot,
someone else into that.
yeah, you can't be that in a relationship. It
Absolutely.
won't work.
No. And Matthew was saying bad words and actions of others is a reflection of them. Oh, sorry, no, it does say Matthew,
Yeah.
a reflection of them, not you. This allows you to forgive and start afresh. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Because I think, you know, when there is bad words and actions or whatever, and it's them. It's not you're not doing it. It's not you're saying it, but you have to look at that. And then, yes, absolutely. I think forgiveness is one of the biggest keys to having a peaceful life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think that if you can't, it's part of the healing process. If you don't forgive past relationships, then you can't move on relationship. And I think that is so big within a
Well,
healing
that's why
process.
therapy is very important.
Yeah.
People
Uh,
should go to therapy. But I love the fact that Matthew said something, and thank you for engaging with us today. Pick your battles. Why are you trying to make everything a fight? People don't realize that they're picking everything has to be a fight or an argument when it doesn't have to be. Pick your battles very wisely.
yeah, and find your voice within a relationship. I think it's really important to be able to speak what you need to speak, and if you feel afraid to say something, then you got to
Well,
understand why.
let's clarify that. Speak your voice does not mean you have to be rude.
No, 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 no.
Let's get that out. It
Yeah,
does
thank
not mean
you.
to be
Yeah,
rude.
no, I don't like to be rude anyway. So I suppose my mind was just going straight into
No, but
the
it's just because
purity of
some
it. But yes,
people would
absolutely.
assume that speaking your mind means being non-agreeable, means like being disrespectful or being rude. Because some people will be like, "Hey, they told me to speak my mind and tell you you're a piece of crap." No,
No,
we didn't tell you that.
no. What we're saying is that conversation, that heart to heart, sit down and speak of it, and you know, and express what it is that you, if somebody felt somebody's
Uncomfortable
overstepped,
with, yeah.
uncomfortable, or someone's overstepped boundaries. I never think that anyone should ever approach anything with a with an aggressiveness. It should always be in calm and a loving. How can you show up? How can you speak about it in a loving way? Because if I'm approaching you, Michael, and I'm just come to you, and all of a sudden you're gonna stand back and be like, and you're gonna your
All I'm
action.
gonna hear is this. That's all I'm gonna hear. I'm gonna be like, yo.
Exactly. So my actions, which is the aggressiveness, will have a reaction which will be of in alignment with with how I've just showed up. So if I'm showing up screaming and shouting or being aggressive, then that's what's going to come back to me. So you've got to be very aware of how you approach this. So when I'm saying speak your mind, just to clarify again, I'm saying to sit down and come from a loving place and speak of it on the loving side of things and be able to express yourself in that way, and not to fear what the other person thinks, because at the end of the day, too many people are scared of what the other person's going to think about what you're going to say.
Well, they're
But
afraid they're
actually,
going to leave, or what
they're afraid they're
but
going to
that's
leave.
the thing. If you're with the right person, you wouldn't have that
They're
fear
not
of
going to
speaking
leave.
up.
Thank you.
But I will say this: what you said was very interesting, because you see, I talk with a lot of people, and I had a disagreement with one of my female friends. She never got out of pocket. She was still respectful. She was still, and you know what? She led with femininity, and her leading with femininity made me step back and say, you know what? Maybe I was a little out of pocket. Because that's the thing. When you're not leading with femininity for a female, or leading with masculinity, when you fight like that, and one person's gonna try to up the other person. So, like, let's say she came at me rude. Oh, she was rude to me. I'm gonna be rude. She's gonna be like, well, he wants to be rude. I'm gonna be rude. And then it's just this. But you see, she led with femininity. She was like, Michael, I think you just need to take a moment. She gave me some facts. And I stepped back and said, you know what? Maybe I was out of pocket. And I apologized to her and said, yo, the reason why I calmed down, I wasn't getting angry, but I said, you led with femininity. No matter how far I tried to take it, you still stayed in feminine frame. And I was like, yo, okay, I was wrong. But I've had some girls never do that and say, I'm going to destroy you. You're a terrible person. Like, and I'm like,
oh yeah. And it will get, and that's what I mean. You're going to have the reaction is going to be the way you approach something. And women, can be like that, and probably men can be like that
yeah,
too.
ego.
Yeah, it's an ego thing where they come, trying to tell somebody else what to do. And I think you can't tell someone what to do. You can approach it with compassion and respect, and ask and just give what your views are, or how you see things to be. But you can't tell them this is what you have to do, because that is going to get somebody like, whoa, straight away. It's approaching in the wrong way completely. And I want to just go flip back again, just to say, this is why the subject we're speaking about here, and I know we've opened it up on a big level, on a big scale here, to say the relationship, why the relationship is turning out to be the same, is because of everything we've spoken about in between here. Like, it is about vetting a person. It is about taking that time to, first of all, healing for you, understanding your belief system. What do you say about your relationships? What is it? What's the story you tell? Are always saying I end up attracting the bad ones. I've got the worst ones. My relationships never work out. These things are a story you're telling yourself. That's a belief system that's creating the outcome for you. So really look at you first and foremost, and then when you do find somebody, take that time for yourself, like vet the person, understand, express what you're about and what you would like, and listen to them when they speak. You're sitting down for something to eat, listen to what the person's telling you. Like, listen to them. Because if you actually, they will be telling you who they are and what they're about, and you'll be able to hear.
You know what? It's very interesting, because I've noticed that people will tell on themselves if you let them. You just have to watch.
They will tell on themselves every single time. I've listened, and the reason why I so know this is because of recent experiences, and people do tell on themselves. They really, really do. Just listen.
But because Matthew has to go, I want you to read his last comment, and then we'll address it, and then we'll wrap it up.
Is this the never overcomplicate?
No, about modern feminism and masculinity.
Oh, sorry, I've got to go a little bit further up. Modern feminism, and let me just make this bigger so I can see it. And old masculinity is pure evil. Don't need to be woke, just respect people for not rocket science, that everyone the same based on words and actions. Now, I completely agree with that. You could just strip it down to basics, can't you, Matthew? Honestly, like, love, just respect people. And that respect starts with yourself. I always say, if you respect yourself, it's a very ease and flow thing to be able to respect others. And you'll naturally get that respect back when you have that respect for yourself. So yeah, definitely, I agree with that. Your thoughts on that, Michael?
You know what? Let's strip it down to bare bones. You know, obviously, again, at the end of the day, you know, it's all about respect. It's all about understanding. You know, naturally, again, and we'll probably do a topic on. I think we might have maybe covered it. Masculine femininity is needed, but not the extremes that we have it to today.
Yeah, we have had a podcast on that one.
Yeah, just not to the extremes that we have it to. So again, guys, look, this was probably one of the best lives we've done because of the audience and the level of engagement we have. You know, we want to try to make Wednesdays and Fridays episodes not too long, but we want to be able to cram it all in within like 50 minutes. So with that being said, guys, look, thank you for partaking today. Hopefully you guys took something away from it. As I said, we're just here to open up the dialogue, but we want to be able to give you things that you're able to apply to life, that you can use, because anybody can have a conversation, right? But it's, can you take what that person said in the conversation and apply it to some form of life to make your life better and enhance it in some shape, way, or form. So again, we're going to be going live on Friday. We're going to be talking about unconditional love and conditional love, and is it a fairy tale, which would be a very interesting topic. So again, thank you guys for joining us today. We greatly appreciate it, and we will see you soon. And hopefully you guys can join us for season 3, which we're hoping to start at the end of the month. It's going to be better. It's going to be, not that season 2 wasn't good, but this is, every time we're always looking to elevate what we do with the topics, content, value, all of it. And we'll probably have more surprises for you as well.
And thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today. Like, honestly, the interaction's been phenomenal. We love it. It's really nice to have that interaction and hear people's point of views. And it gives us that thing to be able to move forward and find other topics to speak about. Mm-hmm. And please do like and share. We really appreciate your support. Like we've always said, we love doing this. We want to continue, and subscribe to us on YouTube. Also, that would be phenomenal. And
anywhere, guys, subscribe to us anywhere. Yes, YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, like wherever you feel comfortable. We've provided the platform. Subscribe to us there, guys. So
thank you. Look forward to seeing you on Friday.
Yeah, and we'll see you on Friday.
Bye.
Bye.